there! If you're looking for a 7-day itinerary for your trip to Alberta, you're in the right place. I did this trip with my family about a week ago now. We got back and it was such a blast. We all really enjoyed it. So the 7 days covers a drive from Calgary to Jasper and back. So you're going to hit a few national parks along the way. That means there's a lot of driving involved and there is a good amount of walking involved. Obviously, you can adjust the itinerary to make sure it's something that suits your needs and whoever you're traveling with, their needs, to make sure it's an environment that you enjoy being in. But here's everything that I did and whether or not I would recommend it. So let's start off with day one. Day one is the day that you would arrive in Calgary. So whether that's flying in or driving, depending where you're from, obviously what time you arrive is going to impact how much you're able to do on that first day. We arrived pretty early in the morning because of the time change. We're from Ontario, so we were 2 hours ahead, but when we arrived it was only 9 a.m. Alberta time. So we did have a good amount of time to explore that day. We were also really lucky that we got to go to Alberta, Calgary specifically, during the Calgary Stampede, which is essentially like this really large fair that they host every single year with concerts, with rides, with fair food, so lots of fun things going on there. So that was a big part of what we did on day one of the trip to Alberta that we took, but obviously if you're going at a different time of the year, you may not have that opportunity. Regardless, there are still other things that you can do in Calgary. I would recommend for lunch or for dinner, you head to the Calgary Farmers Market West. There's a really good kebab place in there that literally the food is to die for. They cook it to order. It's so fresh. It's so tasty. I've been to Alberta twice now and I've been to that specific place 3 times. So it is a place that you're going to want to keep going back to, in my opinion. But regardless of whether or not that's something you go for, there are a lot of options at the farmers market and you're supporting local businesses. So win-win on all sides. After that, if you wanted to stay more so in the downtown core, there's a really nice walk along Princess Island Park. It's essentially, it kind of gives you a serene step away from the city while you're still in the city, but it's a really beautiful walk, and on a nice sunny day, it's super calming, super relaxing, a nice place to just go and chat with your favorite people. There's also Stevens Avenue, which is essentially a pedestrian-only road within Calgary's downtown core. So if you want to do some shopping, that's a good place to go. Or if you just want to walk around and see what downtown looks like and what it has to offer, that's also a place for you to go. That night, I would say stay in Calgary. You're probably going to be tired from a lot of traveling to get to the city. So I would always recommend staying that first night in the same place for your landing, especially for this trip and how this itinerary works. Now, the next day, we drove out to Canmore. If you don't know what Canmore is, it is this adorable mountain town. So it is a little bit on the touristy side for sure, but it's got such beautiful views that you really can't say no to stopping there anytime. What I'd say is start by exploring the downtown. It is very tiny. Really, there's only a few streets that you would really need to go on to kind of get a sense of what Canmore has to offer in its downtown core. The rest of it is more residential, whether that's tourist residences or people who actually live in the city, because obviously there are people that live there. But it's a very, very nice, calm town, and there are a few different walks that you can do around there as well. Before you get walking though, whether it's for breakfast or it's for lunch, I would really recommend stopping by the Rocky Mountain Bagel Company. So they have some of the best bagels that I've ever had in my life. Even if you just get like a plain bagel with their homemade cream cheese, it's to die for. They also have a ton of sandwiches, pastries, coffee, all of that good stuff, so be sure to check them out. After that, we did get a little bit of unfortunate weather, I'll say. We got rained out a couple of these days, but we still made the most of it. Canmore has this really nice walk along a path kind of to the side of the city center, really. But what I would recommend putting in your maps is the Canmore Engine Bridge. If you do that, it'll get you to that walkway and you just have to follow it from there. But it's a really nice walk along, very quiet. You'll get to see some beautiful views, again, of the mountains, the rivers, the different pathways, but you also get to see some of the more residential side of Canmore with some of the homes that are fortunate enough to have those beautiful views. That day you really can stay in Canmore if you wanted to, because we're going to be continuing along that highway either way. Canmore hotels, the further kind of out that way that we get into the mountains, the hotels get more and more pricey. So if you're looking for a cheaper option, you can always drive the hour back to Calgary and get a hotel back in Calgary. If you are okay with spending a little bit more money, you can stay in Canmore. You're going to wake up to some really beautiful views if you do. If you are staying in Calgary that second night though, I would really recommend, instead of taking the highway back, because you probably would have taken the highway to get there, take the Bow Valley Parkway on your way back. It's a little bit of a longer route, but it's also a little bit more of a scenic route. You'll drive through some of the back ways, some of the back streets, so you'll pass different mountains, fields, ranges that you wouldn't have really seen if you stuck on the highway. Really, you can't go wrong with either. They both got beautiful views, but if you want a change of scenery, that's a really good option for you. Now, day 3 is when I would recommend going to see kind of what I would say are the really prominent landmarks in Alberta that everybody wants to see when they go. It's Lake Louise and Moraine Lake. One thing to note about both of those places, they are very, very popular destinations. They are beautiful, and I think there's something that you really shouldn't miss if you go to Alberta and if you go to that region in Alberta, but you do have to plan ahead for sure when you go to visit them. So Parks Canada runs a shuttle that goes from the Lake Louise ski resort to Lake Louise lakefront, and that gives you an opportunity to go see them, but that shuttle fills up really, really fast and you have to book it in advance. They do have some tickets that are released 48 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance. Can't remember off the top of my head, so take a look at their website to double check that. But other than that, it is good to book it at the beginning of the season if you already know you're going to be going to Lake Louise and Moraine Lake. What's really nice about that Parks Canada shuttle is that there's a lake connector shuttle as well. So you just pay for one of them to whichever destination you want to go to first, and then from that lake you can hop on the shuttle to get to the other lake, and then back to the parking lot as well. If you're not able to get onto that shuttle, there is some parking at Lake Louise. From what I hear, it fills up really, really fast, like before sunrise fast. So that is always an option, but you do kind of have to plan ahead with what you want your day to look like and go from there. If you are driving, just make sure that you are prepared for a very early wake up, and I would recommend staying closer to Lake Louise if that is the case for you. But regardless, for us, we did get the shuttle. We got the shuttle, I believe it was a departure between 3 and 4 p.m., which meant that we had most of the day to kind of find other things to do before heading to those really famous lakes. So we went to Banff, which is another beautiful mountain town, a little bit more touristy than Canmore and definitely bigger than Canmore as well. You can explore the downtown core over there. There are a few different hikes as well. We didn't do any of the hikes just with our timing, but there are hikes around Bow Falls, Vermilion Lakes, and Tunnel Mountain as well. And I've heard that all of those are really beautiful hikes as well. Depending on your timing as well, you also have the opportunity, if you don't need that much time to explore Canmore on day 2, you can also do Banff on day 2. It's about a 30-minute drive between the two towns, so really it's not all that bad if you did want to throw in some of those things on a different day. That night you have the option, again, it's going to depend on your price range. Lake Louise hotels are a little bit pricier. We opted to stay in Golden. It's technically in British Columbia, so a different province, but it was really only, I want to say, an hour drive to get from Lake Louise to Golden. There are a lot more hotel options. It's cheaper than staying in Lake Louise, and you get to see some really beautiful views while you're driving through the mountains over there, something that you wouldn't see otherwise. So obviously it's up to you, up to your preferences, but that is what we did, and it worked really well for us. Now, day 4 is when you're going to complete your trek out to Jasper. So again, it's another of a heavier driving day, but there are a lot of stops along the way that you can get up, stretch your legs, use the washroom, all of that good stuff, grab some food as well. The drive that you're going to take is on the Icefields Parkway from Lake Louise to Jasper. On that, there's only one place to stop for gas and for food. So obviously the prices are a little bit higher when it comes to the gas. The food, the food prices were a little bit higher too, to be honest, than they probably should have been at a different restaurant. But you do have to either pack something in advance and make sure your gas tank is full, or just take the L and pay that extra money. But again, up to you. That stop is called the Saskatchewan River Crossing. But when you are leaving from Lake Louise and getting onto that Icefields Parkway, the first stop that I would recommend making is Bow Lake. It's just a viewpoint, so you don't have to do any hikes or anything like that. You'll just pull over on the side of the highway essentially, but it's a beautiful lake, beautiful mountains. You'll notice a lot of what I'm saying is lake and mountains because that's primarily what you're going to be seeing on this trip, but regardless, they are all still very nice. After Bow Lake, you can stop at Pito Lake. Pito Lake does have a little bit of a hike to it. I'd say it was probably about 30 to 40 minutes round trip. You're going up a mountain, so there is an easier pathway and a harder pathway. Pick which one's right for you. The easier one's a little bit less steep for a portion of the hike, but then you get to the viewpoint, regardless, the same viewpoint. So do whichever one is right for you. Both of them were really nice. We did the easy one on the way up and the hard one on the way down, but the lake is very, very nice to see. I would recommend stopping at that one. When you're driving on the Icefield Parkways as well, you'll find the Athabasca Glacier and Columbia Icefields. Essentially, the Athabasca Glacier and the Columbia Icefields are these glaciers, this compilation of glaciers from what existed for so many years, obviously like from the Ice Age kind of idea, and you're able to climb up and see it if you want to see it. You do have to do a little bit of a hike up a mountain. Again, I'd probably say maybe about 45 minutes round trip if I were to guess. If you were to go fast, maybe a little bit longer. If you were to walk a little bit slower, you are again hiking up a mountain, so it's a little bit tiring. Make sure to bring some water, but it also gets cold there, so make sure you're bringing a sweater as well. But you're going to be seeing a glacier from a very, very long time ago. And what was really interesting to me when we were at the Athabasca Glacier was that they had different points that said, oh, the glacier was this far in 1980, it was this far in 1990, and you can see how much it's recessed over the years, which was really interesting to me. You can also take a tour where you go on a bus that goes on to the Columbia Icefields and Athabasca Glacier, so you can actually walk on it. We didn't do that because we didn't really feel it was necessary, but again, if you want to, that is an option for you. And then from there, keep on driving to Jasper. We stopped at both Sunwapta Falls and Athabasca Falls. I really liked Sunwapta Falls. I liked Athabasca Falls too. I think what you'll notice the closer you get to Jasper is, if you didn't know, there was a very devastating wildfire that occurred there in 2024, and a lot of the trees over there were burnt. So you'll notice there's less greenery the closer you get to Jasper because of those fires. Still beautiful, it's just a very different environment than you might expect from what you might have seen in photos from before the devastation. And then we spent the night in Jasper. There was this really cute place called Becker's Chalets, and I would recommend staying there if you're going to Jasper. They were so lovely, all of the folks that we spoke to that worked over there, and you essentially get your own little cabin for the night. We had 2 rooms in ours, a bathroom and a living space. Some of them have kitchens, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, so you can look at what they have and what works best for you, but I really, really liked it there and I would recommend staying there. The next day we drove back on down the Icefields Parkway, so away from Jasper. Before doing that though, we stopped at Pyramid Lake. It's essentially a beach area where you can stop for a picnic, go swimming and whatnot. We got rained out that day, so I will say it was a little bit of a disappointment, I guess, in the sense of it wasn't as nice as I was kind of expecting it to be. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a must-stop place, but if you are planning to have a picnic or something like that, then I'd say it could be a really nice place for a picnic. From Pyramid Lake, we went to Medicine Lake. The drive to Medicine Lake did have a lot of that devastation from the fire as well, but by the time you got to Medicine Lake, it was green again. So it's interesting to see while you drive along where the fire kind of stopped and started again. But that was a nice little drive and a nice little stop as well. And then from there, we headed back to Golden for the night as well. It was a longer drive, so maybe about 3 hours, 4 hours drive. Again, if you wanted to stay somewhere else along the way, either do another night in Jasper really if you wanted to, but I would recommend going closer towards Lake Louise. That's an option. We wanted to save a little bit of money, so we went back out to Golden. So we did kind of a similar drive, just in reverse that we did the day before. And then we stopped on the way to Golden to see Emerald Lake. So what you'll notice is when you're doing this itinerary, you get to visit a few different national parks. So you start in Banff, then you go to Jasper, you go to Yoho. So Emerald Lake is one of the lakes in Yoho National Park. It's a quick stop off the road. You don't have to hike for that one, but it is really, really beautiful, and I would say stop by if you want to. The water is very comparable to what you'll see in Lake Louise and Moraine Lake in terms of the color, and there are mountains around. It is a smaller lake than those two though, but still very nice. Then that final day, day 6, I'm losing track, but day 6 we went back to Canmore, so we kind of continued our track back towards Calgary. In Canmore, again, we had already looked at the downtown core, so we didn't really need to do that as much, but there are a couple of other hikes that you could do. So before getting to Canmore, I think it was about 30 minutes outside of Canmore towards Banff, we stopped at Johnson Canyon. It was about an hour or an hour and a half round trip hike. So there's a hike to the lower canyon, which is shorter. That's the one that we did. And there's a hike to the upper canyons as well. Both of them give you different vantage points, obviously, but what we saw from the lower canyon. We got rained out again that day, so it wasn't ideal weather for hiking, but it was still very beautiful. And I can see that hike being really, really beautiful and popular on a nice day. Now, when you finish at Johnson Canyon, you can head back all the way to Canmore. In Canmore, there is a trail called Grassy Lakes. I have a love-hate relationship with Grassy Lakes. It is a nice hike. Don't get me wrong, there's an easy way to go up and there's a hard way to go up. It's probably about like an hour to 2 hours round trip hike. You are going up the mountain and you have to make it all the way up if you want to see the lakes. They're really cool. So the water in them is like neon green and bright blue. The hike up, the first time I did the hike, I was really sick. And I chose to do the hard way because that was called the Scenic way and I didn't want to miss out on anything. And it was hard. They were not lying, it was hard. So if you are looking for an easier hike, that is an option. I took it on the way down. The view from the top is very nice. So I would say stop by just to see the color of the water, if nothing else. Then again, you have the option there if you want to stay the night in Canmore, if you want to save some money, go back to Calgary. We went back to Calgary for the night, so our final day was in Calgary. If you do stay in Canmore, you can obviously enjoy the mountain scenery a little bit more on your final day before heading back to Calgary for your flight home. For us, because we were already in Calgary and we didn't have fantastic weather, we decided to just spend the day doing some shopping. If you are from a place that has higher taxes, like me, for example, Ontario has 13% sales tax, Alberta only has 5%. You can obviously take advantage of that while you're there. If you didn't do anything on day 1 that you just didn't have time to do, it's also a really good time to make up for that if you want to go to Princess Island Park or if you want to walk St. Stephen's Avenue, any of that kind of stuff, you can always do on your last day. And there you go. There is your 7-day itinerary for your trip to Alberta. If you've ever been to Alberta, let me know your favorite places in the comments below, or if I missed anything. Be sure to subscribe for more content and like this video. And if you've never been to Alberta, let me know which place you're most excited to see. See you next time.